We teach ourselves and our kids at an early age to be prepared, be ready for anything. And we're not always ready for that with mom or dad because what if they go to the hospital? What comes next?
Today, we're bringing in John Brown from Oasis Senior Advisors, Austin, Central Texas. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
We know that unfortunately might happen. Our parents are going to need to go to the hospital. We know to take them there if they have an emergency. But a lot of times I think there's a lot of confusion as to what's going to happen next. Do they go home or are they going to have to go somewhere else? And so where do we start with that?
Well, I think first you have to kind of have a little bit of understanding about the hospital system now compared to in years past. So first, the average stay in a hospital now is about 3 days. So it's down from 7 or 8 days just a few years back.
Wow.
So that's one thing to remember is that it is a fast pace. They're going to treat the condition, whatever mom or dad's condition is, and then they're going to start moving toward that discharge. And so, before we can even get to where can mom or dad go, we've got to address, how are they doing? What is the medical condition? Is it being treated? Once it's treated, okay, now we've got to know our options and where to go from there. So, it starts though, the clock starts the minute you enter the hospital. And these shorter stays are definitely causing a lot of stress for families while you're calling your kids, you're calling your grandkids, or you're calling, Aunt Joe or whoever and letting them know about mom. You find out, wait a minute, we're already being discharged. So you've got to first start by having a real conversation when you are in the hospital. Ask who is going to be helping with the discharge. Is it it could be a social worker, it could be a discharge planner, it could be a case manager, or they have different titles, but there'll be somebody that is going to communicate with you. So you need to immediately make sure you're in contact with them, you've connected with them, they have a good number to reach you or reach whoever is going to be doing that conversations, and then answer the phone. That is probably one of the biggest things is we hear stories from the hospital. Well, I've called for 2 days and they haven't called me back. And once that happens, things kind of get out of control real fast.
So you're going to have those conversations, and what are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them more about what the home situation is like, where they typically live? I don't think it's safe for them to go home by themselves, or maybe their loved one isn't able to take care of them. What do you need to tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. What is going on at home? Who is there to help if they're at home? Who can care for them? Who can't care for them? Also, you want to, if they're living in an assisted living, is it, a type A, a type B? Does it have memory care? Things like that. If they're in independent living, what does that look like? And so you've got to have this conversation of where they're living and then what's been going on. Like, well, I've noticed mom's been struggling a lot with her gait and walking. We're having some problems keeping her consistent with her medication. Just kind of give that little story of what's going on, because the more the hospital knows about that, the more they can help with the discharge process. And they don't make any assumptions or presumptions that everything's going to be okay,
But it's not up to us to determine, well, they should go to a skilled nursing facility. No, they should go to rehab. They make a choice, but we can kind of fight if we don't agree with it. Is that correct?
Well, you can advocate. So the first of all, the physician's going to give a recommendation. Well, I think this, Aunt Sue needs to go to, a skilled nursing or an inpatient rehab, or I think she needs memory care. They're going to make that recommendation. Ultimately, though, it's going to come down to how the disease or the accident or whatever it is, what is the recovery standard? What is the standard recovery? And then, is it treated? And then how are they going to do on rehab? If they're going to go to, let's just say it's going to rehab. So, there's a lot of variables in there. They'll make the recommendations. And then it comes down to your Medicare coverage. Your Medicare coverage will have a huge impact on what options are available to you.
What's covered or what's not. Can you give us a sense of sort of what are the main options generally when you're being discharged from the hospital?
Right. So, of course, home with home care and maybe home health, or other ancillary services. You've got inpatient rehab. So that's that fast rehab, 3 hours a day, about 10 to 14 days, get them as strong as we can, as fast as we can. Then you have skilled nursing. It's a slower rehab. It's basically 1 hour a day of all three disciplines, the physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. It's about an hour a day.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you have senior living, with the transformation of what we're seeing in healthcare and with senior living. You're really starting to gray those lines, and so that's another option. There's a lot of senior communities that have on-premise therapy 5 days a week, so you can get the same benefit of skilled nursing
Hmm.
in a community. They also have physicians that visit their communities, or they have actual doctors' clinics in the community. So there's a lot of graying in that area.
Hmm.
So, but those are, and then lastly, there is some scenarios where you could go to. I skipped it. You could go to an acute hospital. So that would be if somebody has let's just say a really bad viral infection, and
Hmm.
they're going to need IVs for the next 30 days.
Mm.
That's complex medical, and
Hmm.
so you might go to an acute hospital. But those are pretty much your options. It's from the hospital, you either go home, you go to inpatient rehab, you go to a skilled nursing, you go to an acute hospital, or you look at senior living options, which could meet all those needs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And do you have, if you think, I think mom needs to go to rehab because she needs to get better fast. She's broken it. She broke a hip. She's had surgery. We want to get her up on her feet quickly. Where they may say, no, we really think that she needs skilled nursing, or that you can kind of advocate for them for one or the other, or is that really again going to be based on your insurance coverage?
It's going to be both. It's going to be, I mean, really, it does come down to your Medicare coverage. If you've got an Advantage plan, a PPO, you've got an HMO, or a supplemental insurance, they're going to be the driver of the decisions. So if they see, well, mom also has mild dementia, they might say, we don't think she's going to do well at inpatient because she has dementia.
Mhm.
And so we're recommending skilled nursing. But you really want her to going, get out and get as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. You can advocate for inpatient rehab.
Mhm.
Probably the best way to do that is to connect you with the inpatient rehab as quickly as possible. See if they can approve it. If they feel like that it's appropriate, then
Mhm.
they can advocate on your behalf, and that just helps you. But again, it's how fast we get that going, because like again, we're talking about a 3 or 4 day window here,
Mhm.
and so if we've got to do appeals and things like that, the time gets cut real short.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so hard to understand Medicare. So I'm not advocating that we try to learn all of that, but it's good to have the policy or have the information in your caregiver's key or something like that so you can show the case manager or show the doctor, let them know what Medicare is going to be able to cover, correct?
And I think 90% of the time when you enter the hospital, they have all that information, but you're probably going to be the one that's picking up the phone and
Yeah.
calling them and
Hmm.
asking questions. So, take pictures of the. So we always recommend, and like your caregiver guide recommends, always have a copy of their Medicare coverage cards, their VA card, all those insurance cards. Have the pictures front and back,
Hmm.
because you're the one that's going to be calling and asking, okay, well, mom's in the hospital and they're recommending skilled nursing, but she went to a skilled nursing before. She wasn't happy. We'd really like to go to an inpatient rehab, and you're going to have to advocate on their
Hmm.
behalf.
Hmm.
So make sure you have those cards readily available to you, or have a picture on your phone or something,
Hmm.
because you're going to have to do some advocating.
And are there opportunities that if you feel like they're telling you, well, we think that she's fine to go home, and you really don't think it's safe, how do you approach that? Can they still send her home if it's really not a safe environment? And do you have an example maybe of one of those?
Yeah, I mean, we recently had a lady who had a stroke, and I felt it was a pretty major stroke. I mean, she was bedbound at that time, and they were just moving to discharge to send her home. And we really didn't. Once I spoke to the family, did not feel that was appropriate. I mean, her husband was a 92-year-old and he couldn't take care of her, and she was a fairly large woman, a little over 200 pounds. He just was not going to be able to take care of her, and there was nobody else there that could do it. And so, we had the discussion with the family. We explained the different types of rehab. We got an inpatient rehab on the phone. We got them to advocate, and from the hospital, they discharged to the inpatient rehab. And miraculously, I think it was 14 days later, she walked out of the rehab, with a walker, but on her own. Whereas I think if she would have gone home, it would have been a readmission within 24 to 48 hours. There was not enough care at home to do it.
Wow.
But the hospital didn't have these discussions because the family hadn't, connected with them and then hadn't explained the circumstances. Once I spoke to them, I told them what to say, how to say it, who to ask for. They had that connection, and it happened very quickly.
Mhm.
But again, you've got to advocate, and you've got to start that process fairly quickly.
I was gonna say, yeah, and you got to start fast. You can't wait till it's okay. Let's sign the discharge papers and say, oh, well, hold on. And
Right.
this is also where we can have those conversations with the social worker and the case manager. But certainly, if we're just overwhelmed, we can certainly reach out to a senior care advisor like yourself to be able to help us understand, because it is so confusing, all the different terms and the different possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always here to help a family. That's our goal is to just try to help a family through that process. They can you have lots of options, and you can advocate, and your loved one better than anybody else. So it is really about being honest, telling everybody what's going on, and then knowing what to say, when to say. That's a big piece of it. If you don't have a plan, which we always recommend you have a plan, like we always recommend everybody should know their nearby rehab that they like. Everybody should, if mom or dad needs a respite stay or an assisted living stay, have one picked out, because if you don't, the hospital will make assumptions or presumptions, and they will move to those discharge plans. And the easy button for them is either skilled nursing or home. And so if you don't say yay or nay, or you don't communicate to them, that's what they're going to do. They're going to come to you and say, okay, well, here's the 3 places that your insurance covers. Which one do you want? The nearest one could be 40 miles away,
Wow.
you know? So you've got to have these discussions and have a plan.
Yeah, because I think as the adult child, you don't always know that you have the ability or that you can have that input, because you just think, oh, well, they know what to do. And
You
while
trust
they
them.
do know what to do, you still want to be able to have a part of that conversation.
The part that they don't know is, mom.
Right.
And if mom can do 3 hours a day of rehab, if mom can do it, if mom doesn't like to do physical activity, what her life is at home. And so wherever home may be. And so if you're not communicating that, they're going under the assumption that everything is covered at home, wherever home could be. So you've got to make sure you paint that picture of, hey, she's been struggling. We've noticed her gait's been really bad. She's, and let's just say it's a UTI. She's really struggled mobility wise. She's really struggled with, maybe some mild hallucinations. You've got to paint that picture, because the way they look at it is, well, we gave her the IV. We've cleaned up the UTI. She's good to go.
Right.
They don't know that previously she was struggling with these activities of daily living.
Right.
So you've got to have those conversations.
And then also just be aware that you've got to have these conversations before they're actually discharged, whether it's to a skilled nursing or rehab or home, because once you can't
That's too
appeal
late.
after they've already been discharged.
Correct. You can't go to a skilled nursing and then appeal. I want to go back to the hospital. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You can appeal while you're in the hospital. You can appeal while you're in a skilled nursing or in an inpatient rehab or an acute hospital. But once you've transitioned, there's no appeal process. Probably 50% of the time, that's because we didn't prepare for the discharge.
Yeah.
Then they land up going home or land up going to wherever they hate it or whatever the circumstance might be. probably 60% of the time, they end up going back to the hospital and it's a
Mhm.
readmission. And it just starts the whole process over. And now everybody's all stressed out.
Mhm.
Everybody's angry, and we worry about the seniors because all this movement,
Mhm.
you're always going to have any senior with any little bit of cognitive decline, either if it's just old age and memory, or if it is dementia or Alzheimer's or Lewy body dementia or Parkinson's. Every transition is going to lead to transitional decline.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
they're going to get worse. So we move them from here to move them to there to move them to here. They're always going to get a little worse for a little while until
Yeah.
they get their bearings, until they understand what's going on. And so we never want to have a readmission. It's just, to go from home to a hospital to a skilled nursing, back to the hospital or home, then back to the hospital. You're asking
Lot.
for it to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
John Brown, you're helping everyone get much better prepared. Thank you so, so much.
Y'all have a great evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we're learning to be prepared, and we don't want to over prepare, but we've got to know a little bit of something about what comes next, just in
Absolutely.
case.
Absolutely.
Better safe than sorry.
For
right?
sure.
Hey, if there's any other topics you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. Parenting aging parents.